It's the Independence edition of Pundit on Flip TV, and we, the management of Flip TV, are saying a happy Independence Day to every Nigerians out there, especially our esteemed viewers. It's another edition of Pundit on Flip TV. Of course, you know I'm Michael Adekunle. All right, a whole lot of activities went on during the October 1st Independence Day, ranging from the protest, the parade, and the, I call it declaration of Oduduwa Republic by some persons. Of course, you know, I'm not here alone. I have some guests here that will be deliberating on these issues. But before we go, there is a news, I call it a breaking news, about Bayelsa State. The court has affirmed Governor Diri as the authentic governor of that state. Of course, I told you earlier on that I have some guests here. Matthew Oluku, how are you doing?
I'm fine.
It's
a pleasure.
Happy Independence Day.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And I have Elijah Ayodele. Good to see you.
It's a pleasure being here once again, and I say happy Independence anniversary to Flip TV and Nigerian Network.
All right. Like I said earlier on, together we'll be deliberating on vital issues together. Let's start the ball. I'll be right back. You're welcome once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is colorful. Why are you putting on your green, white, green, despite the fact that Nigerians are seriously condemning the country at this present situation?
As a typical Nigerian, I believe we are still in celebration mood. We were 60 years today, and despite all the challenges at hand, we don't have any other country we can call ours. As of today, we might be hoping for a better one, or probably secession tomorrow. But today, one Nigeria and happy celebration.
One Nigeria and happy celebration. But you're already smiling. Why are you smiling?
I'm smiling because he's my good friend.
Okay.
And I'm surprised that he's dressing like this. Because for me, he should call for sober reflection.
Sober reflection.
I don't see anything that we should be celebrating.
But you're putting on white.
It's out of my personal discretion.
Okay.
It does not connote Nigeria.
So far, it doesn't.
But part of our national color.
That is it. All right. Let's quickly move down to the breaking news on board. Governor Diri's affirmation as the authentic governor of Bayelsa State, and despite all sorts of up and down, he still emerged as the governor of that state. Would you call the judiciary's move on this an authentic one?
Mr. Mike, if you ask me, I think if you follow the trajectory of that litigation, a political party challenged the victory of Diri at the level of electoral tribunal.
Okay.
That is the originating point from gubernatorial election. And in the wisdom of the electoral tribunal, they nullified the election. And PDP and the candidate of the PDP appealed against that judgment to Court of Appeal. As the case was progressing, the same political party that raised the issue, that started the issue at the level of electoral tribunal,
instigated it. Okay.
Approached the appeal court.
Okay.
With an intention to withdraw from the case. And they hinged their point on the ground that the candidate of the party have actually withdrawn from the case. Tell the court that if the court eventually order a rerun, perhaps PDP go for appeal at the level of Supreme Court, and finally they ask them to go and conduct a fresh election, that they stand the risk of not having a candidate in that election. For that reason, that they apply to the court, that the court might decide to strike the case out of the court. In the wisdom of the court decided to strike out the case. I'm not wishing away settlement out of the court. They may have settled out of the court before we saw what transpired at the level of the court. But having said that, the judiciary have not done anything wrong, because conflict resolution is often better resolved out of the court. I don't know the extent to which, I don't know what transpired, I don't know the term of agreement, but I know they may have settled out of the court before the party that instigated the case came to the court to say we are no longer interested. So to that extent, judiciary have not erred. They are right to have struck out the case.
Ayodele, of course, to be sincere with you, the court has the final verdict. And on this issue, do you think the court has done the right thing?
Michael, I'm not a lawyer. And judiciary-wise, I'm an illiterate. But to a large extent, and for the sake of the future judiciary, I think we should continue to set a pace by which judgments will stand as foundation. I have no special interest in who govern Bayelsa State, but given the fact that a certain political party has reason to challenge the victory of another political party candidate, and the matter has gotten to court, the court should be able to affirm a particular foundation in case that kind of case come up in the future. Not just striking it out like a village head chief judging his kinsmen. Because if such a case should be brought before court tomorrow, it's going to be difficult to make a reference. But as far as the court has decided to rule in that way, I think I have little or nothing to say about it than what I've just said.
You just put up a smile now.
The reason is not far-fetched.
Okay.
Because my gentleman here, the issue is you do not need to be a legal luminary before you understand that conflict can be resolved out of the courts. It's a public knowledge, a common knowledge, that even judges itself, even people who are experts in our legal jurisprudence, advise people to seek alternative source of dispute resolution. That best explain why we have, at times, you see a case in court, somebody will start asking that he need to approach the other party to see whether it could be resolved. Even the one that involves government, you see at times somebody wants to settle out of court. So it's a part of legal process. And you see that we are even our judicial system is overburdened. The more cases that can be resolved out of court is better for judiciary. Because if you look at, there are some cases that have lingered in this country that is at the level of Supreme Court that have lingered for 12 years, 15 years, and we are yet to see the end. They have cases piled down. So as many as that can be resolved out of court is better for the judiciary, to lessen the burden of the judiciary. I can categorically tell you that. I did not need to be a legal practitioner to know that.
Before you know.
Yes.
Okay. Away from that, after the September 19 poll in Edo State, I've not really sat with Ayodele to ask you certain questions. I think you are a strong supporter of Izeyamu. Somehow.
Not really. Like I said during my last interview here, I said I'm not interested in whoever emerges as
the winner,
but I'm more concerned about the peace
of that state.
In that state. I told you affirmatively that Edo has been Edo State. If you are from Benin, from Esan, from Esako, from Owa, Benin remain Benin. Edo remain Edo State. I said categorically that a winner will surely emerge, but they should consider life after the election.
Yeah, you
So
said-
I'm not.
But
You
you're
asked me which party am I supporting. I said I'm not supporting any party. You asked me for that if I'm to vote in the Edo election. I said I'm not from Edo State. Unfortunately, I can't vote, and I don't have a voter card. But
You're kind of
then
skeptical. Of,
I said, if somebody has done it once, and people feel that they need a fresh hand,
okay.
I will go with Izeyamo. Not that I have anything to do with it. I'm not his
Not that
ardent
you
supporter,
supported him.
no.
Okay. Matthew, at the end of the day, Obaseki emerged the winner of that September 19 poll.
Mr. Mike, if you ask me, I will tell you that it is not unexpected.
Okay.
Because severally we have tried to vulcanize, analyze who will win that election on the basis of the indices that determine who wins an election in Nigeria.
Okay.
And on the basis of free, fair, and credible election, I've always stand on that ground that Obaseki will win that election. And again, I think we need to applaud the international community that put pressure on Nigerian authorities.
Would you say
to do the
worked?
needful.
Would you say that worked in that state?
Mr. Mike, I can categorically tell you that it was a pressure from America
and EU,
Britain,
okay,
and possibly UN that make us see that credible
experience
election.
that kind of election. Then.
Don't forget that before that election, there was a threat of visa ban from Britain.
Yeah.
America already, through its ambassador in Nigeria, made a press statement that Nigerian politicians who circumvented the rule to rig or to manipulate Kogi election, that are already on visa restriction, and they may not be able to access their properties over there. So instead of rigging an election and standing the risk of losing every of your investment in America and Britain, I think that is the reason they decided to allow us see a free and fair election.
And Ayo, do you think that election was credible enough?
I was not opportune to observe the election myself, but from the reports, I have nothing to say against their reports. But in my own personal opinion, I give kudos to Mr. President for giving a free level playground for that election in Edo State. A lot of people opine that deploying a huge number of military personnel or security operatives to that state is an attempt to militarize that election. If you can recall, we have one DIG, one AIG, 31,000 police, 13,300 civil defense with 60 dogs, 1,900 soldiers, Air Force operatives or personnel were deployed. If they had wanted, in my own opinion, I might be wrong, if they had wanted to militarize the election, who is going to stand in the front of gun barrel? And I told you once here that it is time we start to look beyond external intervention before we get our politics right in Nigeria. Not only when they place a restriction of visa on us, before we can do what is right, what is constitutional, electorally in Nigeria. We should look beyond that. But all in all, I commend the efforts of Edo people, and I think it is high time for the winner, Godwin Obaseki, to prove that he is the man of the people in Edo State. He emerged winner not because he's a saint, not because he doesn't have any blemish, but because the people want him.
The people decided.
Yeah, they want him. And he should look beyond his party this time around to unite Edo people. And I want to tell you, the major problem in Nigeria today is centered on the people leading at the state level, also at the central level. How? If Michael is imagined as the governor of Lagos State today, and we are from Awori ethnic group, it is always factoring in that people will believe we take you as the governor of the Awori. Because in terms of appointment and orders, you definitely favor your kinsmen at the detriment of other ethnic group in Lagos State. It happens everywhere. It is a problem we have at the federal level. When an Hausa man emerges as president, they say he's Hausa president. Definitely he's going to appoint his people. He will show it in his attitude. It is right time we stop that now and move forward as one entity.
All right. There are factors that determine whether a country is successful or not. But Nigeria at 60, is it worth celebrating? After this break, we'll be deliberating on this. Welcome back. Nigeria at 60, that's why we are here. There have been questions raised that the present situation we found ourselves in Nigeria is not the situation we are supposed to be. Nigerians in diaspora are complaining. The one right here in this country are also complaining. Now, Nigeria at 60, I put this question to you, Matthew. Is it worth celebrating right from 1960 till now?
Thank you, Mr. Mike. If you ask me, I will say it's not worth celebrating. If you ask me, I will categorically tell you that it should be a time of sober reflection.
Okay.
If you ask me, I will tell you that it is high time we start having conversation on how to make this country to start working.
Okay.
Because currently, I can categorically tell you that it's not working.
Okay.
A situation where mediocrity is promoted above meritocracy. How do you expect the country to be running? It's not working. Recently, some judges that was recommended for appointment into High Court, Federal High Court, Abi Supreme Court, the NJC recommended 3 persons, and the 3 names are by their names from a section of the country. These names were with Mr. President for 11 months. He didn't send the name to Senate for consideration and confirmation until NJC submitted another 3 names that happens to be from another particular section of the country. In just 2 weeks, Mr. President did the needful by forwarding the names to National Assembly for consideration and confirmation. So that speaks volume of the type of leadership we have. Mr. Mike, I tell you that if you look at what makes you determine whether a country is working, they are all lacking in Nigeria. Look at all the areas of social amenity. Is it in the area of education? Is it in the area of health? Is it in the area of infrastructure? Is it in the area of the economy? Is it in the area of security? You can imagine none of this area meet any good standard globally. And we are here, Mr. President, telling us that it does not make sense for PMS to sell to be more expensive in Saudi Arabia than in Nigeria. So what does that tell you? Mr. Mike, I tell you that if you look at what transpired that day of independence, you see that there is multidimensional protest.
Yeah.
Some people were protesting against fuel increase. Yeah. Some were protesting against electricity tariff hike. Some were protesting against insecurity. Some were protesting against bad governance. Some were protesting against insurgency. Some were protesting against kidnapping. It is from one problem to the other. And Mr. President do not see from the angle of allowing everybody to come to a round table to have conversation on how to address these multifaceted issues. And until we start having conversation and start addressing it, we have not started resolving the issue. So if you ask me, is not worth celebrating. What we needed to do is to continue having conversation on how to address these issues. Mr. Mike, look at the situation where we have been yearning that let us have state police. The federal government have not deemed it fit to enable us have state police. Anytime it comes up, they feel that people want to vulcanize the country. But that is not true. We are saying that the federal government is overburdened with 68 items on the exclusive legislative list. We have only 12 items on the concurrent list. Our federal government is equally making an attempt to seize water and place it in exclusive legislative list. Whereas what they have at their disposal has been accorded to them by the constitution, they have not been able to shoulder it. Most of those areas are lying unattended to. And federal government is still wanting to muzzle state to collect water resources and keep it redundant. And for me, I think it's Ruga in disguise. Now, Mr. Mike, let me tell you this. Go and look at UN Convention of 1982. It talks about contiguous water. It talks about exclusive economic zone. Now, from the baseline of the sea up to 12 nautical miles, up to 24 nautical miles is contiguous zone. And the states that have that water coast have authority over that 12 and 24 nautical miles that fall under that jurisdiction of contiguous zone. Now, after that 12 nautical miles, from that point to another 200 nautical miles is exclusive economic zone, which the constitution gives federal government authority over. So in a nutshell, if the federal government was genuine with the intention to manage water for purpose of hydroelectricity generation, for purpose of economic activities like fishing and all of that, is that not enough for them to manage? That's why I told that it's water in Ruga in disguise.
Let's quickly move to Elijah. Elijah, you are a proud Nigerian, and I'm happy for that kind of pride. Now, looking at the situation, just like I said before, diving into this, I pondered on Chinua Achebe's, the late Chinua Achebe's book, Things Fall Apart. But when you look at things in Nigeria, the way people complain on a daily basis, would you say things are falling apart when you look at the diverse sectors we have in this country? Nigerians are complaining about the agricultural sector, complaining about the health sector, the educational sector, different sectors. Have things fallen apart? Where were we and where are we presently?
As a proudly Nigerian, I celebrate Nigeria as a country, not because we are getting it right presently, but like I said earlier during the opening section of this program, I said, as of today, we have one country called Nigeria that probably not ought to be if we take a critical look at the current situation we find ourselves in. Our forefathers, the founding fathers, they meant well for this country called Nigeria, and they started on a very good note. And up to today, I can be so affirmative in telling the world that those politicians of those days, what they were able to achieve, none of the current crop of leaders we have has been able, and I doubt if they will be able to achieve such. Talking of the late sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo in the Western region. Talking of Zik, who was later succeeded by Okpara at the Eastern region, and Sardauna at Sokoto at the Northern region. They did a lot. They wanted a country that would be able to fend for itself. Yet, then we believe they were corrupt. Some of them, not very many of them, some of them. In the days of Murtala Mohammed, between 75, 76, he put some of them into trial. for corruption cases, it wasn't as bad as what we're having now. And with the look of things, like I've just said moments ago, that we are getting divided more on daily basis based on the attitude of our leaders, starting with the way they rule us, the appointments, their approach to the citizens' well-being and welfare. It is completely wrong. What can we be proud of as of today? Nothing is working. I was with my boss 2 days ago discussing Nigeria. If a bag of gari could be sold for 17 to 20,000 naira, and a bag of rice goes for 30 to 37,000 naira, is that a country? Sometimes ago I was here on this set. I said Nigeria is becoming like an animal kingdom. You were laughing that day because we don't have good leaders to lead us. Those leaders of those days, they had good visions. They had their projections. But politically now, or in terms of governance, we found ourselves in the hand of a serious white wind that doesn't have a stable direction of where we are going. Clearly, we don't know where we are going yet. This very administration is the worst so far I can ever talk about, or I've ever had anybody that understands Nigerian history will talk about. We are not getting it right. We are fast moving retrogressively in every sphere of governance in Nigeria today. Nothing is working in the right direction. And my fear is, where are we going from where we are today? Who is to lead us? Is it the same set of leaders who doesn't care about what happened to their citizen? Is it the same set of leaders who don't know how best to conduct an election? Is it the same set of leaders who cannot manage our economy? I was looking at the history of petrol, like you have mentioned, from 1966, in the days of General Yakubu Gowon, till today. Yesterday I was asking a friend that why should you always be bringing Obasanjo into the table when we are discussing this administration? In the history of increase in fuel price in Nigeria, is the worst among all the leaders.
Obasanjo?
Yes. He came in 1976 and increased pump price from 9 kobo to 15.5 kobo. The first increment that has a large stretch of money like that. He came back in 1999, 7 times increment in the price of petroleum. Even 2 days. 2 days before he left office, on the 27th of May, precisely 2007, he increased the pump of price from 65 to 75 naira. On the 27th of May, 2007, before Liyaradua came back to reverse it from 75 naira back to 65 naira in June 2007. Not because this arrangement is good, it's worst. But someone like him who had the opportunity to get things right and fix to a large extent, he vehemently refused. That's why today, some of us who knew what he did, we never believe in his criticism, no matter how constructive it could be to this government. But all in all, we are moving backward on daily basis. And this government is the most disappointing administration that has ever come to the seat of power in Nigeria.
During the celebration of this year's independence, we saw various civil society group or organizations coming out, to protest, to say no and resist the current onslaught. Now, what wondered me is that of the Oduduwa Republic, which people were expected to, to see a great turnout in terms of people, that will be coming out for that protest. But at the end of the day, it was a negative thing, a negative scenario.
Mr. Mike, if you ask me, I will tell you that the Oduduwa proposed sovereign state was a success. That yesterday outing was a success.
Okay.
Why did I say so? They want to register that impression. They want to create that impression. They want to establish that impression. And currently, if you go to most media platforms, you will see that it is on record that they raise this issue. And again, this now take me to the government's dereliction, negligence, to when people are complaining.
Okay.
The same reason the Biafra agitation have become a perennial thing. It is the same reason we are now seeing people agitating for sovereign state of Oduduwa. Because if they give it attention and we have the right conversation at the right time, the issue of Biafra would have died down by now. In the same manner, if we do not have the right conversation, you may be saying the turnout was not much.
Oh.
This recent agitation.
Even Sunday Igboho said it. He said it. He said he wasn't expecting this.
In time to come, you are going to be surprised.
It was really a whole lot of causes.
The massive support is going to get. It's an ideology. I keep saying it. An ideology, you fight it from the point of ideology. You educate the people. You direct the mind of the people from the cradle. That best explains why Nigeria is not winning war against insurgency anytime soon. Because it's an ideology. You are not fighting it from that angle. You are using the barrel of gun. You can kill as many as that is ready to confront you. But these people keep on planting this thing in the mind of the children from the cradle. Mr. Ma, let me tell you this. I was surprised to know that when federal government, through this program of Safe Haven, through which they absorb Boko Haram into the society,
yeah.
As at the last count, when about 601 Boko Haram repented,
yeah.
I was surprised to see that over 600 and something out of that number are Nigerians. What does that tell you? This is a country where its citizens are taking arm against the sovereignty of the country. And you are fighting with jet bombers. You want to carry order to Kano jet from United States of America and not against it. But why don't you fight it from the ideology point of view? Why don't you start educating the people? Mr. Amai, let me tell you this. We have traditional institutions as people who have that moral authority. Like as I was saying, the traditional rulers, the traditional institutions have that moral authority. What I'm trying to emphasize is why don't the government draft them into this issue?
Okay.
So that you can fight all this multifaceted agitation problem from the ideological point of view. Because I'm saying it because the question you asked me border and Oduduwa sovereignty.
Sovereignty, yeah.
We have had Biafra agitation. It have endured for decades. We have seen insurgency in the north. It have endured, even it's getting to 1 decade now. Now we are seeing, I'm not trying to compare insurgency with Biafra agitation.
Okay.
They are two different things. But I'm talking about ideology. In the same way and manner, federal government neglected Biafra agitation over the years. They didn't do the needful. In the same way, if they didn't address this Oduduwa sovereignty agitation, we are going to see more of it in the years to come.
Now, do you think Yoruba are that united to the extent of agitating for freedom? Of course, the indigenous people of Biafra have been on it for several years, and which they are still on it, and they've not been given that freedom. But looking at what played out during that Independence Day, people expected so much from the Yorubas. Of course, don't forget that the IPOB declared a sit-at-home order. That was a sit-at-home order in solidarity for the Yoruba rally. But even the leader, should I call him the leader now, Sunday Igboho, condemned the Yoruba elders for not coming out, for not supporting that move. So how do you feel about this?
As a typical Yoruba man, I am in support of Oduduwa Republic, but shortly before the independence, I was asking a friend of mine who happens to be a legal luminary about the possible way of pushing forward the agitation for Oduduwa sovereignty that will not breach the constitution, that will make it to become like a treasoning case against whoever that is coming out to lead or to pronounce the agitation. And he told me some procedures of the law by which anyone who is seeking for secession should follow.
Okay.
And in that processes, I think most of the Yoruba leaders in whom my disappointment centered upon, they see Yoruba people, we can choose to tell the government of Nigeria that we want to leave if the leaders will allow us to do it the way we wanted to do it. But unfortunately, none of them supported Sunday Igboho. Yes.
Yeah.
None of them supported him openly because of the fear of their political career. In fact, some of them are even ready to sacrifice Oduduwa's sovereignty, to sacrifice it on the altar of political correctness. But this has a long consequence on us. Because the way things has been going presently in Nigeria, it is high time we call ourselves to a round table and see how best we can divide ourselves. Continue to be together, we continue to get it wrong, getting it bad on daily basis until it gets worse to a point that the gunpowder by which we are sitting upon will explode. And that in no distant time, if we are not careful about the way things are going.
Matthew, it seems the clampdown on, or let me say, the constant clampdown on protesters is inevitable in this present administration. Of course, during the Independence Day, the police and security operatives arrested about 30 protesters, and the Punch journalist, was also brutalized. Now, what does this signify?
Mr. Mike, it's unfortunate. Nigerian states have that history of human rights violation, have that history of brutalizing people who are peaceful protests, have that history of extrajudicial killing. And I don't know what it profits Nigerian police especially to be overzealous. I read about that photojournalist that is working for Punch that was unfortunately brutalized. The fortunate aspect of it anyway is that the commissioner and the policeman did all without provocation. From what they read, he just jumped down from the operational vehicle and attacked the journalist. But unfortunately for the policeman, the commissioner of police was close to the scene. He raced to the scene, rescued the victim, the journalist. He was the one that personally took him to the police clinic in Atikeja. As at the last count, he has given an order that the police inspector should be detained and order an ordinary trial to try him.
And don't forget that almost happened to us at the newsstand. That very day. You see, we had to tell Festus not to capture it.
You see, that's why I'm saying it's unfortunate because
they surrounded the area.
Mr. Mike, I'm very happy for this.
Because if you had captured it, there would have been another.
Yes. Do you know why I say I'm happy with this issue? You know, we are talking about whether it was right to celebrate. Now, we needed to do an anniversary, 60 years celebration, 60 years of our independence. Now, the government is rolling out war drum to compel people not to protest, to restrict people not to protest. What does that tell you? It tells you that the government is aware that people are not happy with so many things prevailing in the country, and they do not want it to get to the press. That is what you saw. You saw the manner the police, police
yesterday.
There was a show of force. across the nook and cranny of Lagos State, Abuja, and I am very thankful to Nigerians who protested in Osun State, Osogbo to be precise.
Honestly.
Because against all odds,
they really stood on their
ground.
They
stood their ground. Some of their leaders were arrested. They followed the DSS to the point where they demanded that they should be released. And after they were released, they continued with the protests. So I salute their courage.
Violation of human rights in the country. How do you say it?
It is the calling of our leaders. That is their calling. To dehumanize, to brutalize, to clamp down on innocent masses protesting for their rights, protesting against bad governance, bad leadership, failure of infrastructure in places. And like I said the other time, when some protesters were clamped down at Maryland, I said until the Supreme Court make a pronunciation that to protest peacefully in Nigeria is against the law, it's not in our constitution, before I will accept it that Mr. President is right. For a sitting president of his age to be deploying armed military personnel against the citizens who are protesting peacefully, it's wrong, completely wrong. It is condemnable in entirety. And I have this to tell Nigerians. If protest is the only weapon by which we can put the government on their toes, we should keep doing it. In other countries, in other sane nations, when protesters register their interest in protesting against a particular thing, the government's primary duty is to protect the protesters. But here in our own country, it is all about killing them. Nothing happens. And Mr. Mike is talking about the Commissioner of Police coming to rescue a journalist and order the detainment of the policeman who is caught in that action. How many of those people, those police with such an aberrant behavior has ever been prosecuted? Out of 100% of them, have you ever had up to 10% of them either been dismissed or to face any other consequences through the law
or jail
in Nigeria?
You know?
No. They will arrest them, they show the proceedings of the detainment, and in the long run, you won't hear anything about it. You won't hear anything about it. They will use their power, the authority to cover up. In fact, it is common within the army, it is common within police, it is common in every sector in military formations. But as far as Nigeria is concerned, it is completely inhuman for any leader, either at state level or federal level, to order a clamp down on the citizen for protesting. For God's sake, you are not getting things right, and you expect people to be silent.
Okay, this is Nigeria at 60, and before we go, I want to know what you want the government or this present administration to correct. And as a Nigerian, where do you expect Nigeria to be, and how do you want to see this country in the next 2 years?
Mr. Mike, but permit me to quickly add that I'm not holding brief for police authority.
Okay.
And that I've said it severally, that there are so many areas, so many times where Amnesty International have indicted Nigerian police, Nigerian army, Nigerian navy, name it. Having said that, it will not be wise after all this, we are not proffering solution.
Okay.
A careful look at our analysis shows that the solution is not far-fetched. Where the solution is, let us start having conversation.
Okay, dialogue, right?
Yes.
Between the government and the people, or what?
Definitely.
Okay.
There have been several confab that is gathering dust. The 2014 confab, when Mr. President came into office, the former president, the person of Dr. Ebele Goodluck Jonathan, handed over the document to him. And most of the issues that need to be addressed to balance the system are embedded in that confab. Mr. Mike, if you look at the composition of this country, it's not working. And the only way we can address it is if you bring people to a round table. The greatest fraud of this constitution is that it is stated in that same constitution that we, the people of Nigeria, have agreed. And if you go through the whole history of this country, there have never been a time when or where you gathered the whole Nigeria as a people, whether by way of representative, whether by way of representation, to come and discuss and come up with that document called Nigerian Constitution. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that let us convene a sovereign national conference.
Okay.
If Mr. President feel that all the previous ones were done by his opposition party, that he cannot make use of it, I will excuse him. Let him jettison it. Okay. But let him convene a sovereign national conference and bring everybody on board. Let us discuss why we should continue living together. What we need to adjust. How Mr. A need to tolerate Mr. B. Let us discuss it and let us agree, and we'll forge ahead from there.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Elijah, as a matter of fact, it's a new era, a new year. But looking at it, the government, I believe, needs to turn a new leaf. Now, what do you want the government to do at this point in time as a Nigerian? Where do you see this country?
I think as it is today, the leaders need to go back to the drawing board. We've had a lot of confab. IBB had one that led to late Chief Dr. Orlando Owo album titled I Say No in 1993. The military regime, autocracy, the head confab as if it will solve our problem. But it cannot solve it. He demanded for democracy. Democracy came, now we are truncating it because of the primordial interests of the leaders at various sectors. Okay. And I think it is high time we urge the government to go back to the drawing board and check for the original manuscript that was being used by the founding fathers during the independence. Okay. How they got things rightly done and working well for them, that made us to be recognized among the Committee of Nations back then when other nations were looking up to us. But today, the whole things have come down. Okay. It is not working the way it's supposed to be. See Nigeria in the next 2 years, in the next whatever years you mentioned, is just a mere wish, a projection. With the way things are going and are happening now, there's no clear sign of forward movement that will emancipate us to a greater level as we all desire. But all in all, I'm very hopeful and positive that this country will be great if our leaders should find their steps back to the right path.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on board. Elijah, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Matthew?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having me.
And on this note, I say goodbye to you on today's edition of this program. I call it a special edition of Pundit, the Independence Day. Join us next time on the same platform. Michael Adekunle remains my name. I won't go without applauding the effort of the guy behind the camera, talking about Michael Ojo, Festus Olabukumi, and Odetola Shei. They are all keeping it real here with us. Viewers across the globe, you can subscribe to our sister channel, Flip TV Plus. You can also join me on Facebook, Michael Timothy Adekunle. Kudos to the management of Flip TV. Kudos to the CEO, Biodun Kukpoli. Have a good day, everyone.